We got an eyeball. It is
Hello.
Sunday morning.
Right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Dualistic Unity Raw. You know, it's funny. I look at I look at the way my life feels now, more than anything else. Not feels like, moment to moment, like I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm sad, but I guess in terms of my response to it, how heavy I make things. I used to be such a very different person than, I guess, the person that you might envision based on what you know from the podcast or an event or something like that. I used to live very much inside my head. And everywhere I walked and everywhere I went, that was the experience I was having, was the thoughts inside my head. And they were heavy because they never went away, and I always had to be managing them and balancing them and carrying them. And so when people would talk to me, you could feel the weight. They wouldn't even be able to see what was weighing me down. That's the weirdest part. I would just look down. My face would be kind of just drooping, mouth closed, just kind of eyes drifting off into the distance, just kind of resigned to go through this hellish life. And it was very much just because of my response. It's because of how heavy I was making it, by how much I thought I had to be holding up. Things aren't going the way I want. God, that's got to feel so heavy. I'm not, going in the direction that I thought I'd be going in. God, that's got to feel so heavy. People don't see me the way I think, or I thought I wanted them to. God, that's got to feel so heavy. And it's only heavy because it was an act of control to begin with. It didn't have to be that heavy. You didn't have to take that shit that seriously. I didn't have to take that shit that seriously. And so that's very much the difference. And you can hear it in my voice. You can hear it changing now. It's about how we respond to the thoughts, to the need for control, the need to analyze ourselves, assess our progress and our value. Those thoughts are always optional. But if we take them seriously, like they're actually going to do that, like we can actually find our value, certainty, truth, a sense of who we are that's stable and unchanging. That's ridiculous. Of course we can't, but we can always try. And as soon as we think the trying is going to get us somewhere, it weighs us down. It weighs down everything we do. And oddly enough, all we have to do is just shrug it off. And I mean this sincerely. Like, you don't have to treat that like that's an arduous thing to get rid of. You can just look at those thoughts and go, right, you're nonsense, and move on with your life. What are you staring at in the room? What are you feeling on your body? What do you smell in the air? These are all real things and far more important than the thoughts. But can you accept that? And it is really easy to do so. And as soon as you do, everything kind of lightens up and you're left with your life.
Yeah, because those thoughts, like, you can have certain thoughts, like how my day is going to go, how I want my day to go, how I want my week to go, how I want my life to go, and assume that those things are going to guarantee something. Like, oh, if it goes this way, then this. If my day goes this way, then this. And it never goes the way that you think it's going to go in your head. All those thoughts that are so heavy about, the assumptions or like what you want, opinions, preferences, all those things, like we can assume that there's some sort of guarantee that comes with them. Oh, if it goes exactly how I think things should go, then everything's going to fit perfectly all the time. That's how the puzzle ends up, is like, I know the pieces, I know where they should go, and this is how my day and week and life should turn out. And we're kind of, you look around and people are kind of doing the same, like, oh, this will guarantee this. If you just do these things, then it'll guarantee this thing in the future. But when you realize that that's not the case, it kind of, dissolves. a little bit, the futility in, focusing on the thoughts, because you get one or the other. You can be feeling the couch that you're sitting on, or the room that you're in, actually feel like, what is the temperature? I wonder what the temperature is in this room right now, and actually be curious about that, as opposed to being curious about how you can control your life to like feel better, guarantee that you're comfortable all the time, to give yourself some guarantee. It's like the curiosity about what's actually happening. It is not to say that that helps you go through things, but at least it opens up space to see things a little bit differently, to start to recognize patterns in yourself, where you habitually focused on certain things that maybe you don't have to focus on anymore, habitual responses to certain things, or not even habitual, but just consistent ways, familiar ways you've responded to things. Because that, I think's something to look at too, is where we tie ourselves to habits, or assume that habits are set in stone in a sense, because they're not. They're still a choice in the moment, and maybe it feels like it's a habit because you've done it a bunch, but it doesn't. And maybe it shifts over time, but it's still, in the moment, you're still choosing, to do that thing, or to make it about you, to focus on yourself versus not, to try and control your life, or have some future focus guarantee, or understand that you don't. And that opens up those choices to a bunch of different things, because the habitual choices are just one. It's not like one or the other. It's one versus all the others, like all the other ways that you could live your life, which opens you up to, changing and being a different person and trying new things, which is, the doorway to being, I don't know, being a new person in a sense, but just exploring capabilities. Like, you got to walk through those uncertain doors to see what you're capable of. And it doesn't mean that it's going to go great right away, but you got to start making that first step. And I think letting go of this idea that there is such a thing as habitual responses can help open that up, because it's kind of just irresponsibility in a lot of ways when you assume that, oh, that's a habit. I've always done it, always going to do it. It's just a habit. It's how I always respond.
See, now that's interesting, because you see, when I look at a habit, I don't immediately assume I'm always going to do it. Just that it's a choice I've made so repetitively that I don't question it anymore. Right? So as soon as you question the habit, that's the process of it breaking, which is inspiring. When you really look at it, just the fact that you're suddenly going, oh shit, I am doing that without thinking about it. Because that's really what we mean by habit. I'm just doing that reflexively now. I'm doing that, just because I've done it so many times. And our synapses, God bless them, fucking emulate that shit. The more that we do one thing, the more our synapses form to make that easier the next time. That's what I was saying in Discover Transcendence, right? Like, beware. Your brain is trying to find a way to just do something repetitively that works. It doesn't understand that doesn't work. It just doesn't. I had a point about buildings and whatnot, but I'll get to that later. I'm going to pass it over to Amanda.
Yeah, it's we think that a tendency means a almost predictable next step, or predictable outcome, and in every moment there's nothing but potential. And so, even if, for a million times in a row you've picked a red door, at the next opportunity to open any door, you're just as likely to open a blue door as you are the red door. It doesn't matter that you've opened the red door a million times, and at 1,000,001 you're just as likely to pick any color. But we think that, I'm a red door person. That's what I do. I pick red doors, and we don't. We're just as likely to pick anything. Every option is available in every single moment. It doesn't matter if you've gone to the restaurant and ordered the same thing. Every time you go to that restaurant, the whole menu is always open to you. And you're just as likely to pick anything off of that menu, not just the same thing that you picked last time. But I see that we have a comment, and I just wanted to say, hey everybody, this is D.U. Ross, so please join us in the comments. And Andrew, can you put it up on the screen?
Yeah.
'Cause I can't read all of it.
Yeah. This one here.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicole. I realized circumstances weren't as intense when I stopped making them reflect anything about me. I love that because that's very much what we're talking about, that making choices doesn't have to feel like a life or death intense scenario, when it doesn't mean anything about you, when the choice doesn't mean anything about you, when it doesn't reflect anything about you other than you made that choice. And that's what's happening. And when we put life in such almost simple terms, it's like it can't be that simple. It's like, no, we make choices. That's really what it boils down to. So I'm not making good choices or bad choices, or I'm making choices.
We have another question from Jay. Hey Jay, good to see you, or good to see you're here and doing your thing.
Good to see your words.
My friend says she never wants to worry about money and is committed to making enough to ensure. Isn't it the stress of that worse than not having much money? Yeah, the stress about not having money is causes way more damage, because money is just a tool. It's just something that's in our environment. And when we are worrying, it's not worrying about money, it's worrying about what not having money means. It's our idea of the money and not having it. Every day every month you pay your rent, but other than having enough money to pay for your basic needs, we don't really need too much more money. So it doesn't really make sense that we have millionaires and billionaires, because it's like money is just a tool for us to engage with our environment, but it's not actually required. And since we're the ones who introduce money into our environment, we could shift our relationship with money. Instead, we worry about it like it's this fixed point that just is immovable. Like it's like if money is something we always have to engage with in the way that we engage with it.
Yeah, and it's the difference between it being a tool versus it meaning something about you. It's like, does the number in your bank account, is it tied to your value or not? And I think there's, a balance where you get to a point, and there's the, study that's been done, or measurement. I'm not exactly sure how they measure happiness in this way, but it's like if you don't make over, I think it used to be like $50,000, getting up to that point, happiness, or quality of life improves. I'm guessing now it's probably closer to, I don't know, 80 to 100,000, depending on where you live. But after that, whatever that point is, which, isn't $1 million or $10 million, there isn't much additional,
Money doesn't buy happiness.
appreciation of life so much. And so it's, I think, finding that balance where it's, you're able to live, but also, there's a lot of things that come into play there, I think, with, the type of job that you have and how much that ties into, is this something that is in itself fulfilling your life? Does it have to be something that's fulfilling your life? If I was doing something maybe I would enjoy a little bit more, maybe I don't make, why am I making that amount of money? Like, what is it supporting? Is it supporting something that I think means something about me? Like a lot of costs that have my value tied to them. But I think, I think it's a personal balance that everyone finds, but there can be that, false sense of security that comes with a lot of money, some future guarantee that you'll be okay. And then it brings into question, what your life is all about. Like, is it about exploring new things, trying new things, or is it very much about maintaining the same, trying to keep every day the same and just stay, comfortable enough until you die? And if that does shift where it isn't so much about staying comfortable all the time, and there is a little more of an ability to explore things, there's a little more maybe faith in yourself, there doesn't have to be so much of a focus on, the future security for the rest of your life, because it's like, well, I'm going to try some things, and if they don't work out, can do some things to make more. And in those experiences, I'll probably learn about a lot about myself there too, instead of it being, I'm just a stagnant idea that I need to maintain for the rest of my life, that goes with, trying to stay comfortable and secure for as long as you can, and like that being the priority.
Yeah. Just to weigh in quickly on the question, I think the whole thing falls apart for me with the words, to make enough money to insure it. It's like, well, good luck with that, because while you might have control of how many hours you put in and how much you focus on making money, and you might be able to hoard your money and save it away, you can't control the world economy. You can't control the place that you work for, unless you work for yourself. But even then, you can't control, whether clients are going to go somewhere else or not. You can't control whether or not somebody's going to rob you.
Nope.
And you might also fucking die. So I think it's important to look at every situation, every possibility. I think we really want to look towards possibilities. It's like, yes, and if this happens, then I'll be happy, so therefore it's going to happen. Where, it's like, well, what if the opposite happened? Let's just say that you do go through a lifetime where you get a good job and you lose it. The company folds. Somebody in your life gets sick. You got to pay to help them out. So now you're not able to save that money. So what if you live a whole life where you just don't ever actually have all the money you want, so you never have to worry about it? What if that happens?
Mm-hmm.
Just take it in. What are you going to focus on? All of a sudden, this carrot's not there, blinding you to everything else. So maybe your relationships might be a little bit more important. Maybe your hobbies might take on a new priority because you've let go of this shiny carrot. And I'm not saying, and it's funny how I want a caveat immediately, because I know so often the response to that simple statement is, yeah, but I could get it. And it's just because we don't want to let it go. And it's so fucking sad that I have to caveat and say, well, I'm not saying that you're not going to make it. Fuck you. No, I mean that sincerely. And I say that to myself, because what if you don't? Let's just be adults about it. Let's just be adults about it and recognize that maybe the thing that we want, that we think is going to change our whole life, may never happen. Are we just going to curl up in the fetal position and give up?
No, keep going.
Exactly. But that's it, is that I know just by habit I have to caveat for that kind of thing, because, most people don't like reality. We want to maintain our optimistic little view of, one day I'll get the carrot, though. One day it'll work out. Like I said, Dualistic Unity honestly didn't happen to me, except for after I gave it up. When I was like, well, fuck it. Maybe I'll never make an impact that changes the world. Maybe I'll never create, the organization that's going to, cause a massive ripple. Maybe I'll never have anything except my quiet little life in my quiet little fucking town.
Mm-hmm.
And I was good with it.
Yeah.
It took a long time for me to get there, but I was good with it. And that's why I appreciate so much when it does happen. That's why I appreciate so many ripples that I can see now, because I'm not looking for the bigger ones that prove it's happening. It's a very different thing. So I just wanted to say that, just take it in. Maybe it's not about the carrot you're chasing. Maybe it's about making the most of each moment. Maybe you're never going to get the thing that you think is going to make you happy. Maybe the thing you think is going to make you happy is what's stopping you from being happy now.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, because you think about guarantees, like what's guaranteed, what's not guaranteed. Like none of those silver bullets are guaranteed to work. None of those carrots are guaranteed to happen, or if they do, guaranteed to. Because what are you looking for in that? Just like a long-term feeling of like feeling like you're enough? No, it's still going to fluctuate. Maybe you get a moment, but what does that exactly mean? And then you go through interactions with people, and does it guarantee that like your life's going to be great if you do all the like the personal things, like becoming your your best self, highest self, making this amount of money, doing all of these things to guarantee this security. Like in a moment where you're interacting with someone, say, I don't know, at just like on the bus, and you notice something and you chat with them for a bit, like that has nothing to do with any of those things that you're striving for. It has nothing to do with any of the carrots that you're chasing. Most people don't give a fuck about how many things you personally have accomplished unless they're,
No.
you know, cut off from reality enough and their experience enough to just be blindly striving for those things as well. Like it doesn't really have impact on the reality of your life in the way that we assume that it will. Like, oh, if I just do these things, then I'll be enough. Like it doesn't guarantee that things are going to, you know, quote unquote work, or that your life's going to be perfect. Like life is happening regardless of your personal plans, regardless of your assumptions about what's going to make it better, or like what avoiding will, you know, not make it worse. It's like you never know how things are going to impact your life or what you're going to learn from. But so there's no guarantees outside of that, you know, you're in the moment that you're experiencing. Like this is the only guarantee right now. Of how things are going aren't even guaranteed right now because you don't know the next step. And so, you know, focusing, there's some degree of like handling your life and having some things. It's not just like, you know, nothing exists outside of this happening right now. It's like, yeah, that's one side of it in terms of when you're having experiences, what to pay attention to, but there's also everything else going on outside of that. But like, where does focusing, you know, give you the most, not benefit, but ability to, you know, see options, to experience life? Like life's happening right now all the time. That has nothing to do with your value or your assumptions about, you know, what should be happening or who you think you should be or what you think should be happening. It's all kind of irrelevant to what's actually happening. And so, you know, this is the only guarantee you get. And when, you know, I think you fully take that in, there isn't so much, you know, that you're wholeheartedly, blindly striving for, you know, the new house, the promotion, all these things that you think are going to guarantee something. It's like there is more attention available, you know, to be paid to the moments.
And all of those things are later. You know, the money, the bank account balance, that's something that would happen later. Because if it's happening now, then it wouldn't be something that you're quote unquote worrying about. And I always like the phrase, you know, worry is a down payment on a problem you don't have yet. Because you're rarely worrying about something that's happening right now. You could, worst case scenario, worry about your house burning down. You're not really worrying about that when it's happening, are you? So your worries are all usually future focused or future based. And we tend to think backwards. I remember having exercises in college where they were like, all right, think of your eulogy. What would you want them to say about you? Think back on your life. And then that's how you plan your life, is think about the dying, not being here, the not life. And you just think about what people are going to say about how you lived. And then you're supposed to plan and you're supposed to know like what kind of career you would have wanted to lead, what kind of partner, how many kids, how many houses, how many friends, how many rounds of applause do you want at your eulogy? And then you're supposed to somehow figure out the steps to make that eulogy happen. And that is so fucked up that that's an exercise that people are given. You know, but we think backwards, forwards, sideways, diagonally, but we don't pay attention to now.
It's the death carrot.
It's the death carrot, the juiciest carrot, the elusive death carrot.
I want to think about that all the time.
legacy carrot.
The legacy carrot.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
It is so, and there's a lot of exercise. That's honestly like a thing that I kind of focused on to push me to do social media. You know, was thinking about what would my regret be on my deathbed.
Yeah, but that's different than how would people see me.
Yeah, the eulogy
Right.
is different than
There
the
is a
deathbed.
Very
Right.
much
Deathbed
look
carrots
at it
is
as
a cousin to the
what do I want to
legacy.
be able to live with when I die?
That's a good point.
And I
that's
enjoyed
the
that
difference
point. Yeah, for
between focusing on because what is it? The Stoic sort of memento mori, Like, remember that you're going to die.
Yeah.
Basically. But remember it, yeah, to that point, remember it for you. Don't remember it for your assumptions about other people.
The
That-
legacy.
like, that is such a massive jump. Like, how do I want people to see me? And it's just how you see yourself and all the assumptions you're making to expand on that.
When I die,
Yeah.
like I won't even be there. Like,
No, but we do
what
that
I
all the
care?
time now in the day to day. It's like, what do people think about me now? Oh, I don't know what to say at dinner because I'm worried about what people are thinking about me now. We do that in the day to day, moment to moment, and we think future. Conversations, future opinions about me. We don't just keep it to the death, to the eulogy. I worry about what people are thinking now.
And there's no guarantee of that either. But it really is like the focus, the legacy thing is entirely living for other people. Like, that has fucking nothing to do with your life
As is culture.
whatsoever.
That's right.
Yeah, fitting into something. Like, oh my gosh,
Right, it's
there's
on
so
you,
many
Billy
ways.
the Fifth. You've
Yeah.
got to keep us going.
Yeah.
You've got to make Billy the Sixth.
Oh my gosh, keep that name alive. Like, you got a lot of pressure there,
Oh my-
as a boy in the family,
Right.
or a guy with a last name. It's like you gotta maintain that, and it's like, for who? For who? For everyone else's experience. It's like, but we make so many choices because of that. Like, oh, gotta have kids. It's like, when you really sit there and ask yourself if that's something that you want, you take in all the responsibility that goes with that, all of the costs, all of the time commitment. Like, is that really for you? Like, if no one ever found out, if everyone kind of assumed for the rest of your life that you didn't have kids in some like alternate universe where
Yeah.
you raised the kids, you had the kids, they were yours, but like to the outside world, no one knew that you had kids. Like, would that be an experience that you would want? And if I think there's the side where it's like, you probably would take a step back and consider it for a while if you were thinking like, 5, 6, 7 kids for sure. Maybe a couple you would want, but there's a totally different way of thinking about it when you are kind of able to put your life in, I don't know, separate from the world, because that kind of is the case, because like your assumptions of how your life is seen are assumptions, or how you think your life is viewed outside of your own perspective are assumptions. So it's kind of like when you have kids, you don't know what someone's gonna think or assume. You might look to certain people who are pressuring you to have kids, but that's only because they probably got pushed into it, or they made those choices maybe for the not those personal reasons, and that's the only reason they would want someone else to also
Validation.
have kids. Yeah.
And that's why it's like, when we're thinking about when you're looking at your life, I think it's less of the, what do I really want? And instead maybe asking the question, what seems to be naturally happening? What seems to be naturally growing? I'm in an intimate relationship with another human, and we are having fun, and it's a healthy relationship, and all of a sudden I'm pregnant. Right? Was I planning to get pregnant? Was I thinking I'm supposed to? Was I thinking about other people or what they would think if I was pregnant? No, in that scenario that I just described, I was just in a hypothetical healthy relationship with someone in an intimate way, and all of a sudden I'm pregnant. That feels more organic than, really looking for the right partner, promising each other that we're going to love each other, then deciding because I have found the appropriate person, now it makes sense that I should be having kids. And I think a lot of people go through that kind of unfolding, where they think they need to be with a certain person, and they need to build the type of healthy relationship that would be great for kids, instead of just naturally finding themselves, resonating with someone, and in that resonating, wanting to spend more time with them, and then in spending more time with them, getting to know them, and getting to know them, it feels natural to want to become intimate, and then from there it's just like, so all of those things just naturally unfolded, versus thinking I need to specifically cultivate a healthy relationship because that would be best for the kids, and that's when it makes the most sense to have them. I feel like in those two scenarios I described, one is very much thinking about society, and one is just like, I'm resonating with someone, and in that I just want to spend more time with you, and in that I'm getting to know you. Like, just one just seems to be naturally happening, and one seems to be very much taking the narrative that's given.
Yeah, it's like the inside out versus outside in perspective. Like, am I being myself, expressing myself, having this relationship and seeing what happens in an organic way, or am I trying to,
Cultivate.
fit into some sort of structure, fit into some sort of, perspective of how you should live your life for some, false guarantee in the future. And when it's coming from you, then the choices differ, or tend to, in a lot of ways, as opposed to trying to, fit into a world that doesn't really give a fuck at the end of the day if you fit into it or not. It's like, you can assume that there's certain people who do, or just how, narrow is your focus, and that then divides you, and that ability to have faith in yourself, it doesn't, I say ability, I don't know if that's necessarily the word I'm looking for, but just
Capacity?
Ability, capacity, to be yourself is going to shift based on how focused on trying to be something that you are, on how well you're trying to do something, or I'm trying to do this thing really well. It's like, that's going to create, there's going to be tension as soon as you're trying to do something perfectly or well or the right way, or live your life the right way. There's going to be rigidity and tension, and that it can cut you off to seeing what's actually happening, to seeing the landscape, to seeing the environment of what's real right now when you're trying to be something. It's like, that goes with trying, and tension and rigidity, and focused on yourself, is, they all kind of go together. And when you're not trying to do something well, or even not necessarily trying to do it poorly, because that's like trying to do something too, but just like willing to do it however it happens. I don't know, because I've definitely gotten caught up in trying to do things poorly before. And it's like, I don't know, there's sort of like more of an ease to that. It lightens the pressure a bit, but it can still kind of cut you off, and take your attention away, and still be focused on how you're doing. I think just letting go of needing to be perfect then kind of opens things up, or assuming that there is a right way to do something, because that thing comes in series. It becomes a whole situation instead of, the moment to moment. And just the uncertainty that comes with that. But the attention and relaxation kind of counteracts the concern with the uncertainty when you're paying attention, in the moment, and not turning moments into situations. It's still a moment that you're experiencing.
I mean, it is always right here, and so it just makes, it's a consideration to just take a look at what seems to naturally be happening, what seems to just be available, and I would think about, how things should be, and then remind myself, but that's not happening right now. So what is happening right now? What does seem to be right here? What is happening in this moment? Because in this moment I can do something. I can't do something with resources I don't have. And when I think about the shoulds and, the coulds, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, it's like, those aren't here. I can't do anything with a shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I can do something with what is available. And if I'm ever confused as to, what I can do, it's like, then take a look and take a stock of what's immediately available right now, because the only thing that's available would be what's happening right now. So if it's not available, it can't be happening right now. And if I'm looking for what's happening right now, then I'm looking for what's available. So I kind of describe it like that to myself, because there's so often that I'm like, well, if I had this, then this could happen, and if I could just work hard to this, then I can get, yeah, but that's not here right now. So let's be practical. I can do something right now with what's available, which seems simple enough, like a simple instruct or a simple kind of guideline. I can do something with what's available right now. That seems so easy. And yet I think about what I could do. It's like, yeah, but that's just running in circles. That's just thinking instead of being and paying attention and being sensitive, because when I'm thinking, I'm not really sensitive. When I'm thinking, I'm planning, I'm thinking of what could be. I'm not taking stock in what's available, and what's available, it feels really special in many moments, at least for me. That's how because it's here, and it feels special because I can do something with it, and it feels like it's raw potential, and it's available to me right now. So what am I going to do? I can get stressed about money. I can get stressed about relationships. I could do that, but if I'm worrying and I'm stressing, then I'm most likely thinking, and I'm not actually doing something with what is available right now, which will do me a lot more good than thinking about what I could do.
It's amazing how, doing something with right now can be as simple as just enjoying it, or just not fighting it. To change your response to now is actually doing something. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and they're quite young. And it was just the recognition that stopping is still doing something. Resting is still doing something. We forget that moments of appreciation inform our life. It's not like you've suddenly taken a break from living just because you're having a good time. That's still living. These things have value. It's just that they don't have value in the trajectory to the carrot. Right? Like if you're trying to leave the legacy carrot, or rather get the legacy carrot, then being kind to people who aren't furthering that and go, person's not going to help my legacy, but I'm going to take my day to go and give them a hand anyway, right? Because it doesn't help you, because you're too busy chasing the fucking legacy carrot. And so it just, it helps. I wanted to say quickly, because I know we're coming up to the end of our episode here, that today we're seeing Fidelium. The very first Fidelium performance of the season. It's going to be in Mafia Park, which is in downtown Nanaimo. Obviously, anybody who's not from the area doesn't know that. But I'm really excited because they have their new album out, and this year they have a whole new group of new kids on the team, and a few seniors have left. And so it's going to be a really interesting journey for all of them. And as such, we are going down there today rather than doing our Patreon calls, because, of course, it's important to support these kids. I wanted to say, actually, I really appreciated both Andrew and Amanda going down to so many of the busking events that were held this summer by Dualistic Unity, by Fidelium. Yes, by Dualistic Unity. I wish we will sponsor the
Events
busking one
sponsored
day.
by
Absolutely,
Dualistic Unity
absolutely.
to come.
But
Stay
just
tuned.
so many busking events this summer have just been so beautiful. Just to sit down by the water and listen to these kids play music, and it was nice to have you guys there, because I'm there because I'd like to say I'm there because I'm a parent, but admittedly I'd be there as a fan, right? So it's been really nice.
Oh, it's tough to beat on a Saturday morning in the sun, hanging out, listening to some Fidelium, and I threw their latest album on there. They're on Spotify, Apple Music, so definitely check them out. It's great for if you want to just take a second and realize that sometimes stopping is the best thing you can do. Realizing like, oh, this is life. This is my life. This is the entirety of your life. Like your responses to whatever you're in, whatever situation you're in, like that's the whole thing right there. And you can live your life trying to leave a legacy, trying to do the right thing, trying to live correctly, and spend your whole life trying to do that. And you know, not to be like cliche Ferris Bueller, but like, you know, missing it over and over. And then realizing, you know, that's a lot of, you know, midlife crisis. People start to realize, oh, I've been chasing something this whole time, and I still haven't gotten it. It's still not doing the thing because it's not about the thing that you get. It's about your response over and over. And so, of course, you know, stopping for a moment and being like, oh, you know, I'm feeling a lot of things, maybe some tension, maybe some, you know, frustration, but it's coming from me. Oh, it's not on the outside. It's not about a circumstance. It's your personal response to whatever it is. And yeah, certain responses, you know, maybe in the money conversation, you can get a wave of like, oh shit, gotta do something. But then it's like, okay, holding on to that doesn't help you then make more money. And like you get those waves, you notice certain things, you understand, you know, start to recognize certain tendency or patterns, and then, you know, realizing that this is still the entirety of your life, and it doesn't have to be an arduous thing. Alan Watts, I've seen a number of his videos where he kind of talks about like work as play, and it's not to say that it's play in the sense of, you know, like a childish sort of irresponsibility, but it's play in the sense that you just don't have to have an opinion of it. Like you don't really have, at least I can't remember having too many opinions of, you know, being at recess as a kid besides like, oh cool, here I am, you know, get a little freedom out of prison for a second. And I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do my best to enjoy it. And like you can apply that to your whole life, you know, because your response is all you get. You know, your opinion's irrelevant when you understand that like your response to things is all you get. And so taking that step back from time to time, being like, oh, this is coming from me, you know, my tension, my assumptions about things. And while you take those steps, checking out some Fidelium can certainly help you kind of, I don't know, settle into that moment that you're experiencing.
Straight up. And of course, you could also come to a retreat. We actually have had another couple of applications recently since the last time we talked about it for the retreat. We're still considering a few guests. We have 2 tickets left, I believe. So if you are interested in joining us in Port Alberni on November 2nd till November 10th for our 3rd retreat in Port Alberni, it'll be our 12th total event, which is fucking incredible. But it's going to be amazing. You can find the details at dualisticunity.com. Just look under events and you'll see the retreat. Andrew is desperately scouring around for something that's right there. Found it. It is the QR code for the retreat in Port Alberni. Check it out. We're going whale watching this time, so that's super exciting. I'm very excited about that. That's going to be great. And then we're taking walks. We're hanging out. There's a hot tub. There's a pool table. We do awesome karaoke. There's a gazebo with a wood-burning fireplace. We chop wood. We hang out. We walk around. It's really a lot of fun. And, of course, we've got live music. We've got yoga. We're talking to our chef to finalize the menu in the next week or two here. So let us know what your food allergies are and whatnot so we can send you a copy of this menu. It's going to be great. But that's it. If you're interested in coming, definitely let us know in the very near future because these tickets are going to be sold out soon.
Yeah, only 2 left. Possibly 1.
Possibly 1.
Yeah, good chance there's only 1 left. So if you are interested, and I'm excited for those meals. Nice family style variety.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe an Italian night, maybe a Mexican night, maybe a Indian night. Get some butter chicken and rice and naan. We'll see.
And the breakfasts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing better than, you know, hanging with a bunch of really cool people, having a good conversation, being relaxed, laughing, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in and says, dinner's ready.
Mhm.
You didn't have to lift a finger.
It's
You
a
just get to
small
go sit
joy,
down.
but it's a big joy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this has been a dope episode. Really enjoying, the slow walk into season 7. We took a bit of a break and now we're back, and season 7 is starting in the very near future. We're going to be recording the last episode, the season finale of season 6 next week. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be back tomorrow. No, we won't be back tomorrow because tomorrow is a holiday.
Labor Day.
So we will be back on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, for episode of Dualistic Unity Social, and then I believe we're going to have a call-in show directly after that at 6 p.m. Eastern Tuesday. So we'd love to see you there. Get out there, have a great fucking weekend, and we love you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.